I've always been the responsible eldest, the one who labels phone chargers and keeps the family chat on mute. So when our parents died 6 weeks apart, Dad from a botched routine surgery, Mom from a sudden stroke, I became project manager of the Turner family grief. I handled funerals, paperwork, and kept my brother Ben from spiraling into late-night conspiracy rabbit holes. My sister Mara flew in from LA, glamorous and bitter, waving divorce papers like an accessory. The will reading was supposed to bring closure. In Mr. Dobbins's oak-scented office, we sat like restless students, me, jittery Ben, poised Mara, and Linda, our beige, brittle stepmother, clicking her pen like a warning. Dobbins adjusted his bow tie and read the words that emptied the room, being of sound mind. Linda inherited almost everything: the house, Dad's accounts, personal effects of sentimental value. We kids got the leftovers, a small trust from selling Dad's failing hardware store, Mom's pearls to me, Grandpa's watch to Ben, a portrait to Mara. It was over in 15 minutes. "Is that everything?" Ben asked. "That's the only will on file," Dobbins said, avoiding my eyes. Outside, Linda touched my arm. "The house needs clearing. I'm listing it next month." It felt like an eviction from our entire childhood. We started cleaning the kitchen, thinking it'd hurt less. I pulled down Mom's old blue casserole dish, the one from every potluck, and heard something rattle inside. Hidden in the base was a tightly rolled envelope, our names written across it in Mom's unmistakable handwriting. Ben tried to joke, "Treasure map?" But his voice cracked. I opened it carefully. Inside was a notarized paper, dated 10 days after Dad's surgery. Addendum to the last will and testament of Charles and Eleanor Turner. It named a different executor, mentioned assets held in trust unknown to current counsel, and referenced the only key, hidden where the good children will look first. My pulse quickened. Then came the line that froze me. "Upon our deaths, the Turner house and all associated land are to pass to." The rest was ruined by a smear of dark, wet ink. "Is this a joke?" Mara whispered. Before I could answer, Linda appeared in the doorway, pale as bone. She grabbed the paper from my hand, scanned it, and hissed, "There is no addendum. Nothing changes what's been settled." She stormed off, the letter clutched tight like it might burn her. Ben started to follow, but I stopped him. "Not yet," I said. Mara began pacing. "Of course there's another will. Dad loved drama." She wasn't wrong, but this felt too deliberate. Mom had hidden it for us. Her careful handwriting, the secret spot, it wasn't coincidence. We spread the letter on the counter like a treasure map. The smeared name mocked us, but one line blazed in my mind. "The only key is hidden where the good children will look first." And I suddenly knew exactly where that was. Every Christmas morning, before we were allowed to open presents, Dad made us wind the old grandfather clock in the hallway, his idea of a Turner family ritual. I met Ben's eyes. He'd thought of it too. The clock still stood there, ticking steadily, the brass pendulum swinging behind glass. I opened the lower panel where Dad kept the winding key, only this time, there were two. One was the usual brass, the other small, silver, and engraved with the letter T. A worn tag hung from it. "For the safe." On the back, "Attic." Mara let out a low whistle. "That's new." We climbed the narrow attic stairs, air turning cooler with every step. Dust floated through our flashlight beams. The place was just as we'd left it years ago, boxes, trunks, old decorations. But behind a pile of yellowed Christmas wreaths, we spotted something unfamiliar, a small metal safe built into the wall, half hidden by insulation. The silver key slid in perfectly. The door creaked open with a sigh of stale air and lavender. Inside were 3 items. A leather notebook tied with red string. A faded Polaroid of Dad shaking hands with a man I didn't recognize. A bank envelope labeled, "For my children, when the truth is safe to tell." Ben opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a short note in Mom's handwriting. "If you're reading this, the house is no longer mine to protect. There are things your father never wanted you to know, but I couldn't leave you blind. Start with the notebook. The man in the photo will help you. Don't trust anyone, not even those who claim to love you. Silence pressed down like a weight. She means Linda, Mara whispered. Ben looked pale. Or one of us. Then, creak. A floorboard downstairs. Someone was in the hallway. Linda's voice floated up, calm and cold. Kids? What are you doing up there? Ben killed the flashlight. We froze in total darkness, listening to her climb one step, then another. She can't stop us from reading it, right? Mara whispered. Not if she doesn't know we have it, I said. Ben stuffed the notebook into his hoodie. We're leaving. Now. He forced the stuck window open, and we slipped out onto the narrow roof ledge. Our hearts pounded as we crouched there, watching through the glass. Linda entered the attic, saw the open safe, and froze. Then she lifted her phone. She's calling someone, Mara hissed. Who? Ben whispered. I already knew. Dad's mysterious business partner, the one Mom never trusted. Harris Cole. We climbed down the trellis like burglars and hid behind the old shed, hearts pounding. From inside Ben's hoodie, the notebook pressed against me like it was alive. Once we were clear, we jumped into my car. Drive first, read later, Ben said. We didn't stop until we reached the diner off Route 9, the same one where Dad used to take us for pancakes after church. The place was empty except for a bored waitress and the hum of country radio. We slid into a booth, ordered coffee we didn't need, and opened the notebook. The first page wasn't a message, it was a list. Turner Family Trust, Secondary Holdings. Silvercrest Property, Undeclared. Orion Manufacturing, 25% stake. Cole Enterprises, Joint Ownership pending. Mara frowned. Orion? Dad said that company went bankrupt years ago. Ben flipped to the next page, where Mom's handwriting filled the margins. If anything happens to us, the assets hidden under Cole's name revert to the children. He promised to release them, but I don't trust him, or Linda. They'll say it doesn't exist. You'll need the deed and the bank records to prove it. I left them with someone safe, Ruth M. Donovan. My heart skipped. Aunt Ruth? From Maine? She hasn't spoken to anyone in 15 years, Mara whispered. They had that huge fight about the family business. Then she's our only lead, I said. Tucked between pages was a faded Polaroid, Mom and Ruth standing in front of a farmhouse with a sign, Silvercrest Farm. On the back, Mom had written, "Find her. The truth lives there." Before we could process it, my phone buzzed, an unknown number. Unknown, leave the house alone. You're not safe. Linda isn't the only one looking. Another text followed. Unknown, if you value your inheritance, or your lives, stop digging. Ben's eyes widened. Who the hell knows what we're doing? Before I could answer, the diner door creaked open. Linda walked in. She smiled, thin and cold. I told you, she said softly, sliding into the booth across from us. There is no second will. She set her phone on the table, its screen glowing with a live video feed from our attic. On the screen, the open safe, insulation scattered, the old rocking horse swaying like someone had just brushed past. Smile, Linda said. You're on camera. Ben's knuckles whitened. You bugged the house? Your father and I installed a security system years ago, she said smoothly. For protection. Protection from what? Mara snapped. Your stepkids finding out you're a thief? Linda's tone didn't waver. Protection from the truth being twisted. Something about her voice sounded rehearsed, fed to her. I leaned in. What do you know about Mom's addendum? About Ruth Donovan? She hesitated. You shouldn't go looking for ghosts, Claire. How do you even know what's in it? Ben asked. Her gaze flickered, a tiny crack in her calm. You think your parents told me everything? They didn't even trust each other by the end. That shook me more than I wanted to admit. Linda stood abruptly, sliding her phone into her bag. Destroy what you took. You can't win against the people involved in this. People like you? Mara said. Linda's eyes went cold. People much bigger than me. She dropped a 20 on the table and left. The diner bell chimed, too bright, too normal. We sat there in silence until Ben finally said, "She's scared." No, Mara muttered. She's guilty. But as I stared at the dark window, I couldn't shake Linda's words, people much bigger than me. When we stepped into the parking lot, I heard a faint click, a camera shutter. Across the street, under a flickering light, an SUV idled. Empty. Watching. Let's get out of here, I said. Back at my apartment, we locked the doors and drew the curtains. Ben spread the notebook on the coffee table while Mara refilled our coffee mugs with something stronger. The next few pages were receipts and old bank statements, written in Mom's neat handwriting but referencing accounts we'd never heard of, one in Zurich, another in the Cayman Islands. Attached was a letter, this one addressed not to us but to Charles Turner, our father. Charles. If you continue to hide what belongs to them, they'll never stop coming. You promised me the children would be safe. I don't trust Cole. He's taken more than money. He's taken records. If anything happens to me, tell them to find Ruth. She's the only one who knows how to fix this. Records, Mara murmured. What kind of records? Ben flipped another page, and froze. Tucked between two sheets was a key card. Not a house key, not even a storage lock, it had the logo of Orion Manufacturing and a 6-digit code written in fading ink. I felt the ground shift beneath us. Orion was the company Dad had supposedly invested in, the one that collapsed. Mara looked at me, her voice low. You think it's still running? I stared at the card, then at Mom's final note. Don't trust anyone who claims to love you. Maybe, I said quietly, it never collapsed at all. Just then, Ben's phone lit up with a notification. He frowned. What? I asked. It's from the security app, he said. The one linked to the old house. He turned the screen toward us. Motion detected, attic camera disabled. And beneath that, system override, user, Ruth Donovan. Ben's face went pale. How could Aunt Ruth even have access to the cameras? She couldn't, I said automatically. She hasn't spoken to any of us since. God, since Mom's 50th birthday. Mara was scrolling through the notification details, her hand trembling just slightly. But look at the timestamp. It's right now. Someone using her name just shut off the feed. We all stared at each other. None of us said what we were thinking. If it really was Aunt Ruth, she knew we'd found the notebook. And if it wasn't, someone wanted us to believe it was her. The room felt suddenly claustrophobic. I opened a window, just to let my lungs work again. The night smelled like rain and cold asphalt. Ben broke the silence first. If she's alive, and she's involved, we have to find her. Orion Manufacturing first, Mara countered. The key card, whatever's there, it's the only proof Mom left behind. I hesitated. Orion's supposed to be defunct. If it's not, we're walking into something way bigger than inheritance drama. Ben met my eyes. Then we walked carefully. We agreed to go at dawn. It was already 3:17 a.m. None of us slept. I sat up on the couch, the notebook open in my lap, rereading every page until the ink blurred. Around 6, we piled into my car and drove 2 towns over to where Orion Manufacturing used to be. The GPS still recognized the address, but the building looked abandoned, a hulking gray warehouse with boarded windows and a sagging fence. Defunct, huh? Ben muttered. I parked across the street. The gate was padlocked, but the smaller side door wasn't. The key card reader still glowed faintly red. I slid the card through. Beep. The light turned green. Mara exhaled. Well, that's not ominous. Inside smelled like dust, oil, and something metallic. Our footsteps echoed down a corridor lined with faded safety posters. The power was still running, dim lights buzzed overhead. At the end of the hall, we found a heavy steel door marked Archives. Authorized personnel only. Ben swiped the card again. Another green light. The lock clicked open. The room beyond was enormous, filled with filing cabinets, shelves of boxes, and, most surprisingly, several sleek computers humming quietly. Not abandoned at all. On the nearest desk sat a folder stamped with the Turner family crest. Ben flipped it open. Inside were property deeds, notarized documents, and something that made my heart lurch, a copy of Mom and Dad's original will. The one before Linda came into the picture. Mara's eyes widened. They changed everything after they married her. Ben read aloud. The house, the trust, and Orion, all of it was supposed to go to us three. Linda wasn't even mentioned. I could barely breathe. So the new will, the one Dobbins read, was rewritten under pressure. Or forged, Mara said darkly. Before we could process that, a loud metallic clank echoed from somewhere in the warehouse. We froze. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, drawing closer. Ben whispered, "Someone else is here." We ducked behind a row of cabinets. Through the narrow gap, I saw a man enter, a tall figure in a dark coat, his gait confident, familiar. When he stepped into the light, my stomach dropped. Harris Cole. He moved to the desk, picked up the folder, and smiled faintly. Told her they'd find it, he muttered to himself. The kids were always too curious for their own good. Then he looked up, straight toward where we were hiding. "You can come out now," he said. "I've been expecting you." Mara's hand tightened around mine. "How did you?" I started. He cut me off with a wave. "Eleanor predicted this day. You really should have listened to her letter." My blood went cold. "You mean the one she hid from you?" Cole smiled wider. "Who do you think helped her hide it?" Ben blinked. "Wait, what?" Cole sighed, almost wistfully. "Your mother and I were business partners long before your father knew. She didn't trust Charles, or Linda. But she trusted me. And when things got complicated, she made sure I could guide you when the time came." I wanted to believe him. I really did. But something about the way he said guide you sounded too much like control you. Mara whispered, "So what do you want?" He gestured toward the folder. "To finish what your parents started. But you'll need Ruth. She has the final piece." Ben frowned. "The final piece of what?" Cole looked at us like we were children asking about taxes. "The key," he said simply. "To the real Turner fortune." Then, without another word, he handed me a small black flash drive. "You'll understand when you get to Maine. But hurry, Linda's not the only one watching you." And before any of us could react, he walked out into the rain, disappearing like smoke. On the drive back, none of us spoke for miles. When we finally reached my apartment, I plugged in the flash drive. The screen flickered, loaded a single file. A video. It was Mom. And she was crying. Mom's face flickered onto the laptop like a ghost caught in pixels, her hair pulled back, eyes red-rimmed, voice trembling the way it did when she tried to sound calm but was hanging by a thread. "If you're seeing this," she said softly, "it means Charles and I are gone, and everything we tried to protect you from is still out there." The three of us leaned in. Ben's hand found the edge of the coffee table, gripping it like a lifeline. "You've probably met Harris by now," Mom continued. "If he's kept his promise, you're closer to the truth than we ever managed. But don't trust him completely, he plays both sides. He always did." Mara let out a sharp breath. "Called it. Your father and I discovered something years ago, something that wasn't supposed to exist. Orion Manufacturing wasn't a real company, it was a shell. It held money from an offshore trust meant for you three. But Charles got greedy. When Linda came along, she helped him move the funds and falsify documents to make it look like Orion collapsed. Harris helped me trace it back, but before we could expose them, everything started unraveling. I think they're watching us. Her voice cracked on that last line. The Silvercrest property isn't just land, it's where the original trust was formed. The records are still there, in Ruth's possession. She's been hiding for years, but if you go to her, she'll know what to do. I couldn't tell you when you were younger. I was scared. But you deserve to know the truth about what our family really built, and who destroyed it. The video stuttered, the sound glitching. Then, Mom's eyes lifted directly into the camera. One more thing. If Linda finds out you have this, she'll try to stop you. And if Harris offers to help, remember, he helped bury your father's sins, too. The only one you can truly trust is Ruth. Static. The video ended. Ben sat back, rubbing his face. So Dad and Linda stole everything. Harris helped Mom try to expose it. And Ruth sitting on the evidence. Mara shook her head. And Harris gave us this flash drive? That doesn't add up. Why would he hand over proof that could destroy him? I stared at the frozen frame of Mom's tear-streaked face. Maybe because he's trying to clean his conscience. Or maybe he's trying to control who finds the truth first. A sudden vibration made us all jump. My phone lit up, another unknown number. I answered on instinct. Claire Turner? A woman's voice asked, low and cautious. Yes? This is Ruth Donovan. Ben mouthed, what? Ruth continued, you've stirred up something dangerous. I've been watching the cameras since your mother died. That override wasn't me, it was them. They're trying to flush you out. You need to come here. Bring the notebook. Bring the video. But trust no one on the way. Mara leaned closer to the speaker. Aunt Ruth, is it true? About Dad and Linda? There was a pause, then Ruth sighed. It's worse than that, sweetheart. The will you heard wasn't just changed, it was rewritten using your father's digital signature, after he was already gone. My stomach turned. That's forgery. That's criminal. That's Linda, Ruth said. And she didn't do it alone. Harris has been playing both of you. He wants the land title. It's worth more than money, it's leverage. Get to Silvercrest before they do. There's a chest buried under the oak behind the farmhouse. It has the original trust documents. How do we even know this isn't another trap? Mara snapped. Ruth's tone softened. Because your mother sent me a code before she died. The phrase she said you'd remember. Claire, do you recall what she used to whisper before bed? It hit me instantly, the lullaby she made up when we were kids. The good children look first, I whispered. Ruth exhaled shakily. Then you know I'm telling the truth. Come tonight. Don't bring anyone else. The call clicked dead. Ben looked at me. We're really doing this, aren't we? I nodded. We leave for Maine now. Before they get there. We packed fast, flash drive, notebook, a few changes of clothes. As we were about to head out, Mara opened the blinds for one last glance outside. Guys, she whispered. Parked across the street was a black SUV, engine running, no lights on. And in the driver's seat, illuminated briefly by a passing car's headlights, sat Harris Cole. He was smiling. And he was holding Mom's notebook, our notebook, in his hands. For a few heartbeats, none of us moved. The sight of Harris sitting calmly in that black SUV with our notebook on his lap felt like a gut punch. Ben was the first to react. How the hell, how does he even have that? You had it. I did, I said, checking my backpack with trembling hands. I swear I. And then it hit me. The diner. When Linda showed us the live feed. We'd been so distracted that I'd set the bag on the floor beside me for a few seconds. Long enough for her, or him, to plant a tracker or swap the book. Okay, Mara hissed. We're not staying here. If he's watching us, he knows we've got the video and the flash drive. That's enough for him to follow. Ben peeked through the blinds again. He's not moving. Yet. Yet, I repeated grimly. Let's go. We slipped out the back door, taking the alley behind my building. My car was parked 2 blocks down. I half expected to hear footsteps behind us, but the only sound was the distant hum of the city waking up. Once inside the car, I drove fast, weaving through side streets until the SUV vanished from the rearview mirror. Mara plugged in directions to Silver Crest Farm, just past the Maine border, near a town called Winslow Ridge. 5 hours, she said. If we don't stop. Ben leaned back in his seat, eyes shut tight. If we make it there at all. The first stretch of highway was a blur. The flash drive sat in the console between us like a ticking bomb. I couldn't stop replaying Mom's words, "Don't trust anyone who claims to love you." Halfway through New Hampshire, a dark shape appeared in the rearview mirror again. Same SUV. No headlights. Damn it, I muttered. He's been tailing us the whole time. Mara twisted in her seat. Can we lose him? Maybe, I said, my hand slick on the steering wheel. Hold on. I veered off the interstate onto a winding forest road, one of those narrow 2-lane routes that disappears into pine and fog. The SUV followed, headlights off, a silent shadow. Ben grabbed the handle above the window. Claire, this isn't exactly subtle. Subtle's overrated, I said, flooring it. We flew around a curve, gravel spitting from the tires. The SUV tried to follow but fishtailed, clipping the guardrail. Sparks flared. I didn't wait to see if it recovered, I just kept driving. 10 miles later, we hit a crossroads where an old gas station stood like something out of another century. I pulled in and killed the engine. Okay, Mara said, voice shaking. What's the plan now? I was about to answer when an elderly man stepped out from the shadows beside the pumps. You must be the Turner kids, he said. My heart stuttered. Excuse me? He smiled faintly. Ruth told me you'd come through here. Said to give you this. He handed me a folded piece of paper, edges smudged with oil. Inside, scrawled in hurried handwriting, was one line. They'll follow the decoy. Come to the farmhouse by dawn. Use the west road. R. Mara frowned. The decoy? Before I could answer, the man reached into his jacket and held out a second notebook. Identical to the one Harris had. Your mother made too, he said quietly. She never trusted just one hiding place. Ben's jaw dropped. So Harris has the fake? Not entirely fake, the man said. Just missing a few pages. The ones that matter. The growl of an engine shattered the quiet. The SUV pulled into the lot, headlights cutting through the fog. Go, the old man barked. I'll hold them off. I didn't wait. We jumped back into the car, tires squealing as we tore out of the gas station and down the west road. In the rearview, the man was waving his arms wildly, blocking the SUV's path as Harris leaned out the window, shouting. Who was that? Ben yelled. Ruth's friend, I said, my voice shaking. Or a ghost. I don't care. We're not stopping. We drove until the sun began bleeding over the horizon. The fog thinned, revealing rolling hills and fields of dead corn. And then, just ahead, a weather-beaten farmhouse appeared at the end of a dirt drive. Silver Crest. The mailbox still bore our family name, Turner, in faded paint. We parked beside the barn, hearts pounding. For a moment, the world felt still again. Then, from behind the house, a woman stepped into view. Older now, gray hair braided down her back, eyes sharp and familiar. Aunt Ruth, I breathed. She smiled faintly. You made it, she said. Good. Because we don't have much time. Harris isn't the only one coming. And just then, the sound of another engine echoed from the distance, deeper, heavier, like a convoy. Mara turned to me, terrified. If that's not Harris. Ruth's face hardened. It's Linda. Ruth ushered us inside with the urgency of someone who'd been waiting decades for this exact moment. The farmhouse smelled like cedar and dust, faintly sweet, as if it had been frozen in time since our parents were young. Lock the doors, she said. Windows too. They'll be here soon. Ben bolted the back door while Mara peeked through the lace curtains. 2 black SUVs were crawling up the dirt road now, not one. Both had tinted windows. Ruth, I said, breathless. You said Linda and Harris were after the trust, but why? What's so valuable about this land? Ruth's expression was grim. Because this isn't just land, Claire. It's a front. Your grandfather started Orion manufacturing right here in 1962, long before your father was born. He built weapons technology, things the government paid to bury when the project went wrong. When he died, your mother inherited the rights. She turned it into a trust, meant to fund the town, the family, everything. Your father wanted to sell it. Linda and Harris wanted to own it. Mara blinked. Weapons? Are you saying this is about, what, military secrets? Not anymore, Ruth said. It's about control. Whoever holds the Silver Crest deed controls the intellectual property your grandfather patented. The patents alone are worth millions. Your father and Linda hid them in offshore accounts. When your mother found out, she made me guardian of the originals. She motioned toward the fireplace. The mantel was carved with our great-grandfather's initials, but one section looked newer, polished differently. Ruth pressed her palm against it, and the wood panel swung open, revealing a small safe. Inside were yellowed documents sealed in plastic, a few faded photos, and a small velvet pouch. She pulled out the pouch and handed it to me. Inside was a ring, a heavy gold band etched with the Turner crest and an inscription, Custos Veritatis. Keeper of the truth, Ruth translated quietly. Your mother wanted you to have this. The ring is registered to the trust's authentication system. With it, you can reopen the account and prove ownership of Silver Crest. But if Linda or Harris get it first, you'll lose everything. Ben swallowed hard. So this is literally the key to the fortune. Not just the fortune, Ruth said. Your family's name. Your father's crimes are tied to this property. If you claim it, the world learns the truth. If they do, it all disappears. A low rumble shook the walls, engines stopping outside. Mara peeked again. They're here. Ruth grabbed the velvet pouch back and thrust it into my hands. Basement. Now. We hurried down the narrow staircase as the front door splintered upstairs. Shouts echoed, Harris's deep voice, Linda's shrill one. I told you they'd come here. Linda was screaming. She has the originals. Ruth's eyes met mine in the dim light. There's a tunnel beneath the cellar. It leads out to the woods. Take the ring, the documents, and go. Don't stop until you reach the old train station. There's someone waiting there who can protect you. What about you? Ben asked. I'll buy you time. Before we could argue, she pressed a button on the wall, and part of the stone foundation slid open, revealing a dark passage. Go, she said again. Gunfire cracked upstairs. Mara screamed, and Ben pulled her into the tunnel. I hesitated for a second, long enough to see Ruth grab a shotgun from behind a barrel, her face set in fierce calm. Then I ran. The tunnel was narrow and damp, roots hanging like ropes from the ceiling. Behind us, the shouts grew louder. Find them. Harris's voice thundered. They can't have gone far. We crawled through mud and stone until a faint glow appeared ahead, the exit. I emerged first, gasping cold night air, the sunrise bleeding through the trees. Ben and Mara tumbled out after me, filthy but alive. The tunnel opening sealed behind us with a soft click. We didn't stop until we reached the old station Ruth had mentioned, a crumbling brick building half swallowed by vines. A man stood on the platform, coat collar turned up, holding a duffel bag. He looked like he'd been waiting a long time. "Claire Turner?" he asked. I nodded warily. "Ruth sent me," he said, producing an old ID badge. It bore the logo of Orion Manufacturing, and the name Dr. Thomas Weller. My heart jolted. "You worked with my grandfather." He smiled faintly. "I helped him build what everyone's been fighting over." Before I could reply, the distant roar of engines echoed down the road again. "They found us," Ben said. Dr. Weller stepped aside and gestured to the duffel bag. "Then it's time you saw what's worth killing for." He unzipped it. Inside was a small metal box with the Turner crest engraved on top, and the same inscription as the ring. When I fit the ring into the slot, the lid hissed open. Inside was a flash drive, old and silver. Weller said softly, "That's the prototype data, what your grandfather hid, what your parents died for. It's not just money. It's proof that Orion's technology still exists." I looked up, the sound of engines growing closer. "So what do we do now?" I asked. Weller's eyes glinted. "Now," he said, "we make sure the right Turners end this story alive." The first SUV screeched into view before Weller could finish. "Inside," he barked, dragging us into the station. Dust rained from the ceiling as headlights flared through the broken windows. Harris's voice thundered outside. "Hand it over, Claire. It was never yours." Ben clutched the box. I shoved the flash drive into my pocket. "What's on it?" I demanded. Weller's jaw tightened. "Blueprints. A weapon that could manipulate magnetic fields, your grandfather's unfinished project. Harris wanted to sell it. Your mother hid the data and split the key, the ring, and this drive." Glass shattered. Linda's silhouette appeared in the doorway, gun raised. "Enough games." Before she could fire, Ruth's shotgun blast echoed from the trees. Linda screamed and ducked. Ruth limped into the station, blood on her sleeve but alive. "Told you I'd buy time," she rasped. Weller grabbed a flare gun from his bag, shot it straight into the pile of fuel canisters by the wall. Fire bloomed instantly, forcing everyone back. "Go," he shouted. We ran through the back exit as the station erupted behind us, flames swallowing years of lies. Ruth stumbled but waved us onward. "The train line still works," she yelled. "The next stop has a federal agent who owes your mother a favor." I glanced back once, Harris dragging Linda away from the burning wreckage, his face twisted in fury. The morning train roared past, brakes screeching as we jumped aboard. My lungs burned, my hands shaking around the box. For the first time in weeks, the air felt clean. Ben laughed shakily. "So, we have the truth. Now what?" I looked down at the ring glinting in the sunlight. "Now," I said, "we make it official." Somewhere behind us, Silver Crest burned like a signal fire, and the Turner name was about to mean something honest again. We rode the train until it crossed into Boston, the sunrise spilling gold across the seats. Ruth sat beside the window, pale but unbroken, clutching her bandaged arm. The box and flash drive rested in my lap, our family's ghosts condensed into metal and data. At the station, a man in a dark suit was waiting. He flashed a federal badge and a weary smile. "Your mother told me to expect this," he said. "Let's finish it." Hours later, in a government office thick with coffee and silence, we signed the papers. The real Turner Trust, Mom's hidden will, was authenticated by the ring's seal and the flash drive's encryption key. The money, the patents, the land, all restored in our names. Linda and Harris were arrested within days for forgery and fraud. Their faces splashed across the news, their empire unraveling faster than it had been built. When it was over, we went back to Silver Crest. The farmhouse was mostly ash, but the oak still stood strong. Ben hammered a small sign into the ground, the Turner Foundation, for Truth and Renewal. Mara laughed through tears. Ruth smiled, eyes shining. As the wind swept through the fields, I slipped Mom's ring onto my finger. "The good children looked first," I whispered. And for the first time in years, it felt like the story, our story, was finally at peace.